Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry there was a little delay in there. Like I said, I got long-winded last night on trying to explain some of the stuff in a little more depth, so it kind of held me up. So I want to get this filmed real quick and up so I got the remainder of the turn up, because I am excited. My copy of Fields of Fire from GMT just came in, so I'm very eager to get that down to the table. Like, you're just like so eager to get that down to the table. But I wanted to get the rest of this turn up for you guys real quick. I wanted to point out something that I noticed when I was going through the charts. Right here, your rules reference card. At the bottom of the Somali troops, it does list down the chart for mobs and what they do. Just a little quick reference there. I had missed that previously, so bam, that's right there. And I think that's all I needed to touch on before I got started. There was something else that I noticed, but one thing I would suggest is to make sure, like, one thing I don't do that I should do is to make sure I'm using my reference charts more than I am, because there is so much good information in there, and it would save you thumbing through the rule book as much as I do doing that, because you're never going to be able to remember every single rule for every single little situation that's going to pop up. So having that is a great thing to have at hand. All right, let's get started here and see if we can get the rest of this turn cracked out real quick. We left off with my helicopter doing some fire, and he could have been op fired on, but I went ahead and just had the helicopter fire and ended there to get the turn completed with. And now it is the Somali's turn, and I went ahead and split this into two stacks. There's still one group of Somali units, but the only guy that has range is the leader with the RPG, because when you're firing at a helicopter with small arms, which you can do, the range is reduced by half. So these Somali counters, who only have a range of 3, as you can see right there, would only have a range of 2 when firing at a helicopter. So that's something to keep in mind. And when you're firing a RPG, helicopters are always spotted. No matter where they're at, they don't have to have a fired or moved or any of that crap marker on them. They're spotted. They're up in the air. They're easy to see, as long as you don't have blocking terrain like in between you and them in such a way to actually block your view. But a helicopter must be hovering to get shot at by a ordnance fire weapon that's not guided. You know, the Somalis don't have SAMs or stuff like that. They just have RPGs. So if it's not in hovering mode, they can't shoot at it. But I was the last one to go, so let's take and draw the next card for them, see what it's going to reference. Nobody's at range. Well, they do have some guys at range 1, but those are spotting guys. At range 2, again, fire closest vehicle, move towards, execute counter actions. AEO, closest to unit that just acted, fire. I'm gonna go ahead and go with that secondary thing, because I want you guys to see how the RPG is gonna work against helicopters. All right, so he's gonna fire his RPG counter at my helicopter that is in hovering mode, and the helicopter is 3 hexes away, so he is firing with a range of 3 to hit roll of or under, and then a penetration value of 5. So his penetration value would actually come into effect if he hits my helicopter. But I am using this leader separate from the stack. Okay, so he these units will be able to act separately from him later on in the turn. Let me take and eyeball this just to make sure I've got it right before I run through it to hit, and then you're going to compare the penetration value at the appropriate range plus 1d6 and the helicopter's armor thickness plus 1d6. Yep. Okay, so with his, he doesn't have a leadership modifier, so he's got to have a 4 or under to hit, which is not that easy, but we've seen it happen before. Close. One die was off. He ended up rolling a 7, so he missed Nothing to worry about there now. We'll mark him with fired. We'll go back to me. What am I going to do here? I'll tell you what, just to kind of show you guys how it's done. Personally, I don't like melee. I like shooting. That's just me personally. But melee is a good way to take out your opponent. So I'm going to have this group of Delta Force enter into melee against the Somali counters. And what you have to keep in mind with Delta is they have that little advantage there. See where it says M next to the 2? That means they get a bonus in melee. They can add 1 to their firepower, so they're effectively 3. And when you're conducting melee, you're going to take and look at your odds chart here. So technically, it's 3 to 1 because of the 0, but when you're using a 0 firepower counter, they're going to count as having a 1 firepower in melee. Okay, let me grab one of my charts here to make sure I walk through this right, because I don't like I said, I don't like doing melee. So we're going to take and the attacker plus their inherent firepower plus eligible support weapons, of which he doesn't have any. You can't use a 40 mic in melee. I can promise you that from real life use, you do not want to fire a 40 mic at point blank range. Although, interestingly enough, most people don't know this. If you fire a 40 millimeter grenade at someone from like a 203 launcher, 203 is the launcher that's underneath your M16 rifle, something to that effect, okay? If you fire it, if you're too close, the grenade actually won't go off. It'll just hit the guy and like crush his chest or break some ribs, because when the 40 mic comes out, it's rotating, and it has to rotate so many times before it actually activates. And I guess that's to prevent someone from doing something dumb. We used to call things like that Marine proof. And when I was in the Marines, I actually heard about these two dumbasses that one of them wanted to take the top, the lid, I guess you would call it, of a 40 millimeter grenade and make like a necklace out of it or something. So he had stuck it between his legs, and he had his buddy getting ready to hit it with a hammer. This is a weapon that is impact detonated, and they were going to beat the top of it off with a hammer. Keep that in mind. I think someone stopped them before we had to pick them up from all over. It would have been a big mess. Marines will do some of the dumbest stuff if we get bored, I swear to God. Okay, so they've got Delta has a firepower of 3 for melee. The Somalis are granted a firepower of 1 for their defense, and melee is conducted simultaneously, and you have 1 round of melee per turn per hex. All right. So once these guys are in melee, until it's over with, people can't shoot into them. So we're going to use the 2 to 1 chart. All right. Because the ratio is 2 to 1, you take and round that up. I have, well, no, it would be 3 to 1 because he's only getting the 1, so I've got 3 to his 1, so it's still 3 to 1, even with his only 1, but still. Okay, so it's going to take me a 2d6 roll, a 5 or higher, to take and eliminate them in melee, but they do get a roll back. However, they're at 1 to 3 odds, so it's going to take them an 11 or higher to cause casualties to me. All right, and the units that are wiped out are wounded, or wiped out, eliminated. So let's take and roll off on mine real quick. 5 or higher, which we got 10, so the Somalis are done. So we know they're gone, but they get to attack back prior to being removed from the board. We'll roll on their odds table, and they didn't beat it. They only rolled a 5. So those guys are eliminated, and we'll remove them from the board. I wasn't too worried about, I'm just putting the melee marker here just to acknowledge that they have acted for this impulse. I'm not too worried about it because there's no one else in line of sight. Well, yeah, this group up here doesn't have line of sight on my guys, but they can move down later and get onto them. All right, that's me. Let's go back to the enemy, see what they're gonna do. Shaken AEO, closest to a player unit if in zero terrain, which they're not, because remember our leader here for the Somalis is shaken. Move towards terrain with a positive terrain modifier. He's in the highest terrain modifier he can find. Highest firepower AEO, closest to a player unit, fire. Let's see, they're gonna fire, and I'm gonna say that their best chance is gonna be over here against some of my spotted Delta, because these guys still don't have range here onto these guys, and these guys are blocked off by these buildings. I'm making a judgment call because if you, let me zoom in so you guys can see that. Those buildings right there, those shanties on the right side don't count as like blocking terrain or anything like that. So it's just the building in the left half of the hex. And since they're both like that, you can kind of draw a line up to those units up there above them. But I'm going to go ahead and make a ruling that since there's two buildings and some degrading terrain and all that stuff, that line of sight here is blocked, even though you can kind of draw it right down the center there. All right, so let's back this back out and get started here. So this guy onto these Delta, what is he firing with? He's also firing with his RPG. He's firing with an RPG and this. So this leader again has a 0 for his leadership modifier. Most of those Somali leaders appear to. I think 2 have 1s and then 2 have 0s. And for some reason it came with doubles. I don't know. I'm only playing with the 4, but they were doubles of the leader, so I don't know if you can spawn duplicates, maybe? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up to find out for sure. Okay, so a 3 firepower is firing over here into my terrain modifier of 1. So let's roll off on that, and then we will do our ordnance fire weapons. Brown again for Somalis, white for my guy. Wow, they are rolling bad. 3 plus their 1 comes out to a 4. The dice gods have not been easy on the Somalis this round. So the Somalis had nothing for their firepower. We will do their ordnance fire weapons. Again, same counters that you've been seeing, just the RPGs. They're firing at a range of 3, so their to hit is 4. And we're going to take a look just to make sure in our little ordnance fire table that I'm not missing anything. Turret, no markings, no degrading hex, helicopter's not in flying mode, not adjacent, no moved marker. Yep, okay. So, and no leadership modifier. So I'm gonna just roll twice here. First one is 4, second one is 4. See if either one of these guys can get a hit on them. Nope, that is an 11. And second guy is 12. God, if they need to roll high, they roll low. If they need to roll low, they roll high. Look at that, boxcars. Okay, so these guys did jack and crap on their attack. Their last attack, they did nothing. I don't know, maybe I should have them like bum rush so they can get closer and have a better chance of hitting with their RPGs, but statistically they should have hit something by now. I mean, even when these guys were lighting my guys up down here, they barely did anything. I don't know, I just don't think the Somalis are going to have a good chance this round. We're done there. I've got line of sight here. Most of the Somali units are getting used up except for their smaller groups of guys. Let's see, what am I gonna do? Let's take and have these guys fire on this big stack, and we will use up their remaining 40 millimeter grenade right there. That is gone now, their last round. So they're firing with a firepower 4 against the terrain modifier of 1 in that hex. Let's see what they get. 5 and 5. Okay, that works out nicely. That means I got a 9 and they got a 6, which means they're going to be rolling the difference of 3 on the direct fire table. Let's walk this out real quick. See who we got where. All right. I'm knocking everything over. And the thing is, I have a nice big set of tongs. I just never use them. Okay, so starting with our leader, which it really doesn't matter. You start with a leader, but it doesn't matter in this case since his modifier is a 0 anyway. Rolling on the direct fire table, 3 plus 3 is 6, which is above his thing. It's greater than his morale, so he's going to be shaken. Now, all right. Next on down the line, we'll do these higher end guys. Their morale is actually a 6 because of the cot that they have. So I'm gonna need something higher to get that. 6. So that is above them. They're gonna take casualties. All right. Next group, and that's good because that's their better counter is now weakened. Morale 4 and 4 on their remaining groups. So I need anything but a 1 to cause casualties to these guys. 3, so it's casualties. And last group, 4. So total of 7 and another thing of casualties. So these guys are chewed up pretty well. Losing their groups. And their leader is shaken. Alright. Let's get my guy marked with a fire marker. I'll tell you what, the first time I played through this, the Somalis really did mess up my guys here and were kind of swooping in this direction towards my Rangers who hadn't even made it this far. And I wasn't doing anywhere near this roll. Like I said, the dice gods have just been very favorable to me. Okay, so we're back to the bad guys. Let's see what they're gonna do. All right. I'll tell you what, we're gonna take and start applying some of these single counters that are around. I've got a single squad here, here, and here, and then there's, like I said, this stack that was here. And I'm kind of leaving these guys to op fire on me if I try to move this direction. So let's take and see what happens here. We're going to take and go ahead and just do a point blank fire. Since at range 1, this group of Somalis that are right here on top of this roadblock are at range, like point blank adjacent range next to my guys, which means they'll get a +2 modifier to their roll. So they can fire with an actual firepower of 2 against them, even though they have a 0. All right. So that's in their best bet. Just spraying and praying and hoping that something sticks. 2 against my modifier of 0. See if they roll high on this one. It was 2 and 2 for both. You got to be kidding me. The Somalis cannot catch a break. So I'll be rolling 2 against my morale. My leader's still good, so it's going to take a 5 or a 6 to shake him. 1. Normally I would be possibly rolling a hero thing, but I'm actually out of hero counters, so no need to do that. Now, with it being a 2, let's see, they're each going to have the leadership modifier of 1 on them. So it's going to take a 6 to beat that. Yeah, only a 6 is going to wound any of my guys now, or cause shaking. 3, no dice. Next group, bounced out. And 6, look at that. They actually got one. They have shaken both of my squads there, so that is not good. And last group of guys down there, hopefully another 6 will not be rolled, because if it is, I will be taking casualties. 3, so nothing. But see, that's what I'm talking about. I think the Somalis do better spreading out and having a bunch of smaller attacks than a few greater ones, because this one little squad was able to take and inflict another shaken result on me. There, let's take and put a fired marker on him. And I'll tell you what, I do need to bring in my other helicopter here before I forget that. So, since I don't have to worry about op fire from the RPGs here now, I'm gonna take and have him just swoop in wide, you know, come in like this, and that would be a range of 2. Let's see, 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2. I don't want that. This is actually the objective. I'll have him hover above the objective and fire down. No, I can't do that because I have to have line of sight to get these guys. Let's see, there, 1, 2, 3. This will keep me out of range of small arms fire from these guys, but just having to deal with that. Okay, no, we're gonna have to go here. Okay, so now I can do it, and I'm out of small arms range there. We're gonna put a hover marker next to him because I'm dropping him into hover to fire down onto these guys. We'll start with his machine gun fire, and then you see he gets to fire twice with his ordnance weapon, which is listed on the back of the counter as such, and at range 3, which he's close, he can do some serious hurt on those guys. So let's take and do his machine gun fire first against this group. Firepower 4 against their terrain modifier of 2. Probably help if I roll both dice, wouldn't it? 6. Wow, I hit with a 10 total against their 4, which is a difference of 6. That's gonna crush them. I think this helicopter is gonna kill these guys. Just outright, just kill them. Because this is already gonna, at minimum, shake their leader. Okay, leader is get order single man counter. 6 plus whatever I roll here. If I can get another 6, no, 5 or 6. What have I got? I got 6. No, 4, 5, or 6 will wound him. Anything under 4 is just going to be a shaken result. And another 6, which is more than 2 times his morale, so he's going to be wounded. And now we'll take and go on to these guys. They're all taking casualties at a minimum. And unfortunately, even with a 6 differential, I'm not... No, I could possibly do that, but I can't get 3 times those guys. The bottom ones I might be able to kill outright. 1. The good part about this, though, is Somalis don't have heroes, so again, no worry about hero generation here. But these guys do take casualties. Next group, let's see, 6 plus that. If I roll a 6 on either the final 2 counters there, they're eliminated outright. Anything else is just going to be casualties. 1 casualties. You gotta be kidding me. 1 twice in a row like that. All right, come on, give me 1 6. Let me eliminate some of these guys. So casualties. But that doesn't matter because I still have my ordnance to go. And these guys are weaker, reduced range. Okay, so now I'm going to do my ordnance against them twice. And I'm rolling 2d6 again here against that to hit roll of 8. But I have to subtract their terrain modifier of 2, so I'm hitting on 6 or under. That's a miss. And next one is 9, so 2 misses. That is unfortunate. I'll hit this guy with that, but I was able to do a severe amount of damage to them anyway. Mark him with fired marker. All right, that's me. We're back down to the Somalis. Again, I'm probably going to just be doing, because they've only got this and this, these 3 actual counters and then 3 mobs to deal with. So I'm probably going to focus on these counters first and then deal with the mobs at the end of the round. Let's see what we got. Yep. Range 1, fire at any player unit. We're going to have these guys take their chance firing into the delta that are tucked into these buildings. And since this guy hasn't been fired at yet, we're going to go after him to just see what happens. Adjacent, so he's firing with a firepower of 2 against the terrain modifier of 1. Roll off on it real quick. 3, so wow, they tied. I got a 5. Yeah, 1 plus the 4 for my guys, 5, 2 plus the 3 they rolled is 5, so no effect. The Somalis are getting no love. They are going to get crushed this round. They just do not have the firepower left to cause any significant damage to my guys. I'll tell you what, since this group is getting chewed all up and I still have all 3 of my ranger squads left to push forward, I'm going to have this group push forward while this one falls back so they can rally up and get some defense while these guys push up and try to put some fire on these guys. And this is one of the advantages I was talking about the Americans having, because they have the assault move capability. It's going to cost them 2 to move into this building, and they still get a chance to fire even with a reduced firepower at this chunk to try to take them out. So let's mark them with an assault move. I'm gonna go ahead and take my shot, which by the way, you can wait. You can put an assault marker on them and move them into a position and then hold them to op fire at a later point. So that's something to keep in mind. Firepower of 2 for the M60. 3 for that guy, another 2 because it's reduced by half and rounded up for these guys. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and use our last 40 Mike. So that brings him up to a 4 plus the leadership modifier of 1. So in totality, that is 10 firepower against this stack here with a 2 defense modifier. And then my guys are reducing their firepower by 2 for the assault move. Basically, they're firing on the run, okay? So they're going to take and fire there with 8 total versus the 2 terrain modifier. I hope you guys kept track of everything I was doing. Let's roll off on it here. And 8 plus the 3 and 3, so 8 plus the 3. Well, actually, we can just, they just tie out. I got a total of 11. They got a total of 5. And then 5 from 11 comes down to 6, okay? So they're rolling on the chart at 6. I was kind of hoping for higher with as high as I was hitting on these guys. Let's take and do our usual walk it out, so we can keep track of who's who. Hopefully this will at least, well, probably won't kill the leader since he's shaken. So right here, you can see I would have to still get 3 times his morale, which I can't do to eliminate him. So he's just taking a wound. 6 differential plus the die roll. 2, so it's 8. So he's taking a wound marker, which goes right there, which reduces his leadership now. And on the rest of these guys, which are probably going to just get reduced, unless I can get real high. 6s will kill him. 4, that comes out to 10, which is more than 2 times, but not 3 times. So he's reduced, or takes casualties rather. Let's get him stacked up right here. Yeah, I'm knocking it all around. Oh, he still has one of the greater groups in there. And his is 6 plus 6, which, if I had rolled the 6 on these guys, they would have been eliminated outright. As it is for these guys, I can't hit hard enough to eliminate them outright. So they just get flipped. That's unfortunate. Okay, and the last group. 1, so they still flip, and no hero generation as they don't have heroes. So let me get it all stacked back up and the right way. These guys go there, 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 with their fired marker. My little tower of power there. Okay. Mark my guys as done. So you can see it's nothing but fired everywhere. Everyone's shooting at everyone. This is the Wild West. Everyone's getting just crushed. I still have these 2 left. They have their mobs and these single counters. I'll tell you what, I think I might take and let these guys take the shot there, because if you draw the line right through it, we'll count that as degrading terrain. Let's see what they've got. They've got nothing at that range, nothing at range 2, with a terrain modifier closest to good order, player unit fire. Yep. Since I'm making a judgment call here, since if you look going down the center, these guys are now in a building here, and the right half of the hex is basically degrading terrain or open terrain. The building's just on the left side. These guys can fire down through the center there and hit these guys, but we're going to count it as 1 degrading terrain. Okay, in between them. So that's going to subtract 1 for their firepower, basically, not from their firepower. What am I thinking? I'm having like a brain fart here. Degrading terrain, yada yada. It's going to add 1 to their hit or firepower. Let me pull it up because I'm tired and reading this wrong. Yeah, sorry about that. I just had like a brain fart for some damn reason and couldn't get it in my head what I was thinking. Degrading terrain subtracts 1 from the attacker's die roll. So effectively it reduces their firepower by 1. In the end, it's synonymous. But anyway, that's what it does. I was just brain farting all the hell. This is what happens when you play so many different board games and you're trying to keep track of this game system versus that game system, all that stuff. But it did have me notice that these guys actually can't fire at them. Normally they could, but their range is reduced because these guys have taken casualties to 2. So they can only hit the first building, they can't hit these guys. So yeah, they're not going to be able to do that. Let's take and look at the card again and see what they're going to do. More than likely they're just going to move into a different spot. What is left here? It's pretty much just a wounded leader. I might just leave those guys there because they would be pulling away from their leader and they can take and get some more firepower with him. And only 2 of them could pull away because they can't stack that well. I'm probably just going to ultimately pass on these guys and leave them there for the future turn to op fire around. And we'll focus on this last group over there. And let's take and see here. These guys. Sorry about the quick break there. My little boy was in the background pounding on the door and screaming. He's 2, so you guys forgive me for that. I had to get him calmed down. I realized though when I was looking at the camera, you guys couldn't see what I was pointing at up here, so I do apologize for that. This counter up here on the roadblock is probably what I'm going to do. Leave these guys to activate at a later point and just go with these guys. All right, let's see, what are they going to do? It's probably just going to be a move. Let's see, they have 4 movement. 1, 2. Yeah, I'm going to have them take and move directly on top of, not on top, but right next to the Delta guys that are here. So hopefully on the following turn, they can get a turn of shooting at these guys with an adjacency bonus. Because so far that's done pretty well. Just having single counters taking blast at my guys was doing the best. We'll take and get these last couple of Ranger units moved up, and that'll wrap the turn up. I'm trying to decide where I'm going with these guys because they've taken a little bit of a beating. I'm thinking either go 1, 2, 3, 4 here into this rubble for some better terrain modifier and give them a sec to heal up. Yeah, we'll probably do that. Let these guys go easy. Well, actually, what is their movement on the, nope, it's only 2 on the shaking guys, so we're just gonna have them fall back into the building next to them to get some blocking terrain, because roadblocks are blocking terrain in between these guys, and let them rally, because they're just kind of torn up at that point. And we'll hit them with a low crawl marker just in case. Let's take and grab a little chart here and we'll start rolling off on the mobs in between what we're doing. All right, first little mob up here. Let's roll, see what's gonna happen with them. They got a 3, which is growth. Add a mob adjacent, and they're both ops complete, which already was. Here's a mob. Since there's already a mob in this side, we'll just roll off on it on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 type of thing here for where it's going to be placed. All right, 6. So the mob's going to go next to him here. That takes care of those guys. And in between these mob turns, I'll take and mark those guys just to remember that I have completed them. I'm going to move up my last group of Rangers here. Oh wait, I still have a Delta guy over here I'd forgotten about too, that I can do something with. I'll put him in between it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where are we going to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can these guys even go there? Nope. 1, 2, 3 is about as far as they can get. So we'll have them move up here and try to join in with the rest of it. I need to get that medic up there to those guys to try to help get the other ones rallied. Okay, so these guys are moved up. Let's roll off on this group here. 6. 6 is move mob. So the mob is going to take and move of its own free will. They're going to basically be trying to engage my guys as best they can. The mob only has a movement value of 2, so they can either move here or they can move up here. So I think I'm going to have them move towards the objective. That way they're going to start crowding around where I need to be. You can see there's already another mob over there. So mark these guys as moved. And my last Delta guy, what is he going to do? Let's just have him fire on this one adjacent counter here and see if he can wipe him out, because he's already fired and he's already taken casualties, this Somali counter. he can get him messed up. With his adjacency bonus, the ranger's firing with a firepower 4 against a 0 terrain modifier, so it shouldn't be too hard. And they both got a 6, which means the mob's rolling off on a 4, and with his morale only being a 4, even a roll of 1 will kill him. So we'll go ahead and throw him off to the side there and mark my guys with a fired counter. So that completes the rest of mine. We'll roll off on this last group of mobs here, which more than likely they're just going to move up or generate something. Let's see. 3 adds another mob. Good God, these mobs just keep growing, don't they? All right. The mob can only spawn in one of 2 places, either above or below it, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for where it spawns. 6, so it is going to spawn below it. And those guys will also be marked ops complete. And that's it. That completes our turnout. All right. You guys can see how the growth of the mobs actually is going to cause me some issues, because I can't kill these without taking a victory point loss. And there's now 4 of them on the board, and they're converging on the objective, which is right here. But to be honest with you, I'm not too worried about it. The dice gods have been fully in my favor this game. And you guys can see this is one long, for the most part, film. I mean, there's a couple of breaks for screaming children. But I'm not altering the dice rolls or anything. They've just loved me today, which means they're going to hate me on my next game, probably. But we'll just have to see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. You guys keep peeled. I am going to have Fields of Fire from GMT down to the table here very soon. Probably as soon as I get this edited and rendered, I'm going to get that down to the table, because I am very excited about that one. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next video.